An old saying has it that civilization is ultimately guaranteed by a platoon of soldiers. In other words, without somebody to deal with the truly bad things that happen in life, i.e. violence, mass violence, civilization itself is in trouble. Now, a lot of talk has been going on lately in the news about the don't ask, don't tell issue, which goes right down to the heart of the gays in the military issue. Now, there's any number of ways that one can actually argue this and look at it. My perspective is it's more or less extraneous. In other words, a soldier's sexual preferences have nothing whatsoever to do with whether or not he's going to be able to do the job that his country puts before him when he steps into his uniform. So it shouldn't even really be an issue at all, and it really hasn't been throughout most of history. For the longest time, up until, say, maybe the First World War, being a soldier, the armies of the world would take whoever they could get. Any kind of social misfit or whatever, anyone who sought to join, is very rare. If you didn't have a club foot, or if you weren't blind, here's your uniform and here's the king's shilling, and we'll see you in 25 years when your contract is up. If you don't get killed, which you probably will, or die of some horrible disease. So whether or not somebody was a homosexual was more or less irrelevant. This certainly went for the Royal Navy, when the Royal Navy was made up of just about anyone that the Navy could get and turn into a sailor. So this issue about agonizing over it is more or less a recent development in military history, where being a soldier, even like a private soldier, a lower rank soldier, is considered now a respectable thing to do. This is new. Wellington was the Duke of Wellington, who defeated Napoleon at Waterloo, was fond of referring to his soldiers as the scum of the earth, not fit for me to wipe my boots on. A soldier was the lowest of the low. But in the 20th century, with the rise of patriotism and general powerful emotional loyalties to one's country, it's come to be seen as a respectable thing. Now, originally, of course, you would in most armies, you wouldn't have, say, black people and white people in the same unit. The presence of African or soldiers of African or Asian or South Asian origin was supposed to bring down morale, and the non-white people were supposed to be disloyal to the civilization they were supposed to defend, and probably not very good soldiers. And it's best not to give them weapons anyway, because we have these huge colonial empires, and we don't want to give them the wrong idea. But certain units, like the French Foreign Legion, proved that the black people and Chinese people that enlisted in the Foreign Legion could fight every bit as well as the white soldiers. So eventually, after the Second World War, most European and North American military started to accept black people. There was resistance there. But now, I don't think anyone would sort of question the presence of a black soldier in a modern military. By the same token, there's the same people that are now resisting the introduction of gay soldiers, gay recruits into the military, are probably resisting it for the same reasons. It'll affect morale. This used to be a man's army, etc., etc. And this again overlooks the fact that we're ultimately training soldiers to do horrible things. Anyone who is proficient at doing that, who can actually withstand the strain of watching people being killed all around him, we shouldn't be too worried. It's more or less, it's beside the point what his sexual preferences are. It shouldn't even come into it. Certain countries' military traditions, one that's actually vanished from the face of the earth since the Second World War, is the German. Never did they ever have a problem with that. That was strictly the soldier's own business if he was gay, even though it was a spit and polish, efficient man's army, the Prussian army and then the Imperial German army. They've never really made an issue out of it. That goes all the way back to the Teutonic Knights, the great warrior monks of medieval Germany, who basically were able to cream just about anybody that they came up against in a battle. So I think that what ultimately the resistance to gays in the military that might be in the military culture is actually something that a proficient and activist officer corps can deal with. A lot of the problems that took place in the Vietnam War with the tensions between the races, in my opinion, my view of the issue is the officers refuse to lead their own men. They refuse to set an example. If you're an officer and you're letting your men wave the Confederate flag or burn crosses or whatever, call each other racial epithets, you're failing as an officer. There's no room for that in a military, especially when the whole bunch of you as a team are going to be facing the enemy tomorrow. An officer will stamp that out, and I think that in Vietnam, the U.S. military kind of came a little bit unglued and was unable to cope with that kind of thing. But it seems to have, I won't say it's been eradicated, but it's now being dealt with, and it's now seen that being a racist soldier is a bad thing. I think that we can, it won't take a huge amount of work to actually get the military culture to accept gay soldiers. And again, when you send these people into battle, the prejudices tend to evaporate very rapidly when the enemy starts to shoot at you and bombs start landing and you foul your own pants and you break out in a cold sweat and you're quite convinced that you're about to get killed because you see people getting killed all around you. You'll take help from anyone that you can get it from. Gay, straight, doesn't matter. So I think that it should be full steam ahead on this issue. I think that, again, I think that it's kind of a non-issue, and it never really was an issue. It seems like we're making it into an issue where there really doesn't need to be any. Again, the ultimate sanction of it is how do these people fare in battle. We've got to remember that that's what the military is for. And if a soldier is ordered by a superior officer to jump into a foxhole with another man who may or may not be gay, black, white, whatever, he's a soldier, and soldiers do as they're told. Thank you.